Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Spellbinder's report on the unfiltered news from the Reality Zone, compiled by G. Edward Griffin for June 11th through the 17th of 2011. The cartoon, or the comic strip here, says they're giving out diplomas, and they're looking at them going, same here, it's an unemployment application. Already, as soon as they get out of college. Alright, let's get on to the headlines. There seems to be a few more extra this week. U.S. Philadelphia infant death rate spiked 48% since radiation was detected in drinking water after Fukushima. In Pacific Northwest, infant mortality has jumped 35%. Until this year, infant deaths have been declining, actually. Alexander Higgins, July 17th. Obama administration responding to lobbying efforts by companies that produce genetically engineered seeds approves the planting of genetically modified crops on wildlife refuges or in refuges. You know what that means? That means all the wild berries and everything will be even genetically altered and changed, so even they will be poisonous. And you wonder what the food banks are all about. It's about Agenda 21 and reducing the population by 80 to 90%. Because this stuff is just, they're Franken people, and they're Franken monsters makers. It says here, there is no wildlife refuge proposed that which GE crops are essential, and likely it is the other way around. If wildlife is harmed, there may be no way to undo the damage. Farm Wars, June 17th. U.S. House votes to cut further funding of Obama's war in Libya, but it must pass the Senate before funding is cut. Imagine that getting through the Senate. We're all Democrats. Barat, June 16. Barat. Let's see. New meat alternative contains protein from soy, steak sauce, and are you ready for this? Human excrement. That's right. It actually is made from what they call sewage mud. Bon appetit. Natural News, June 16. That's as bad as the stuff called L-cysteine or cysteine that's in breads that's made from human hair that they import from China. Bon appetit again on your rolls and donuts and things. Just check the ingredients for the L-cysteine. UK Supreme Court rules that sex offenders who have had their names publicly registered eventually will have their names removed to protect their human rights, of course, and they can continue business as usual. Obama has given high-paying jobs or contracts to 80% of those who gave $200,000 or more to his campaign. For example, a green energy entrepreneur who raised $500,000 has business interests that received over $500 million in grants, stimulants money, and loans from the Department of Energy. See, if you gave him a bunch of money, Obama would give you a bunch of money back. Just the way it goes for getting them into the White House. See, no one's elected, they're put in there. Oh man, Mexico. That's from the Telegraph too. The last one was from the Telegraph. Mexico and 10 other countries joined the legal fight against Georgia's tough law against illegal immigration, saying it could jeopardize close ties between the U.S. and its Latin American neighbors. The suit filed by U.S. groups that defend illegal immigration claims Georgia's law is unconstitutional. Unconstitutional to who? Under the Constitution, states are supreme over the federal government and can establish any immigration law they wish. Imagine the roars of outrage if the U.S. brought suit against another country demanding that it's not restrict Americans from illegal entry, say Mexico. Yet this will be played out with a straight face by the politicians and in the media. Yahoo, June 16th. China's scientists produce genetically engineered cows crossed with human DNA to produce milk that is 80% similar to human breast milk. The excuse is that baby formulas have been tainted with toxic melanin to increase protein content. Therefore, now they won't have to cheat. Who knows what surprises lie ahead from this Franken milk. Yahoo, June 16th. Yeah, it's called Chimelia gene splicing. Yeah, who knows what it will do, how it will be. I mean, this is That's just wrong. I mean, what's wrong with a female's human breast milk from their own breast? Apparently, they have made it sound like it's bad or something, and now you gotta drink other animals' milk and make animals produce human milks, because apparently women's milk isn't good enough for the New World Order Frankenfood creators. Apple has developed a system that will allow producers of stage performances to shut off iPhones in the audience to prevent filming and infringement rights. And guess what? If the police get a hold of this too, you won't be able to film them anymore beating up the fellow citizen and doing it out of their pleasure of being thuggish. Yes, and if police and government agencies or common criminals don't want you to videotape them, how convenient. The Sun, June 16. A Massachusetts middle school has given questionnaires to 7th grade students asking them about their sex partners, participation in the oral sex, suicide impulses, and drug use. The school says the Federal Center of Disease Control requires the surveys to get a federal grant. Imagine how many young people are being tricked into giving information that will be in their records forever and can be used against them if they fall into disfavor with the state. Fox News, June 15th. U.S. 10 lawmakers sue Obama over war in Libya and charge that he has failed to get congressional approval as required by the Constitution and has failed to comply with the War Powers Act that required him to provide Congress with a legal basis for the action within 90 days. Oh, it was 60 days. Okay, 90 days. ABC News, June 15th. Russia. Large population decline, 20% expected by 2050. It's described by Putin as Russia's most acute problem. Causes are high death rates related to alcoholism, low birth rate, and high rate of abortions. About.com, June 15th. TSA is moving beyond performing security theater at airports. It is conducting a security exercise now involving state and local police and U.S. military covering 5,000 miles in 3 states. There is no threat, they explain. They were just practicing for bigger things to come. You know, the false flag. Infowars, June 15th. U.S. Pentagon Papers whistleblowers say the government has ordered mainstream media to avoid reporting on 9/11. This includes numerous quotes from the media's professionals confirming that they are afraid to speak the truth. Washington's blog, June 14th. Yes, they're shutting down the mainstream media to tell the real news. Iraq suicide bombings are on the increase as the deadline for U.S. troop withdrawal looms at the end of the year. Iraq must decide whether to continue or stop U.S. occupation. The U.S. wants to stay in Iraq for reasons of its own but needs an excuse. The insurgents say they want the U.S. to go. Insurgents increase attacks as the date of the withdrawal nears. This creates a strong justification for keeping the U.S. troops there. Who is directing the insurgents? Imagine that. The people, the warmongers that want to have wars and stay there. That is on our side. Yahoo, June 14th. Facebook has lost 6 million American users last month due to boredom and privacy fears, especially the new face recognition feature. Daily Mail, June 14th. U.S. News is buzzing about hackers getting into computers at the Senate, public broadcasting systems, and the UN. The CI director says it could get worse, and this proves the government needs the control over the internet. Yes, they got to take control of the internet. But don't forget last week's news about 1/4 of all hackers are on the government payroll. Do you suppose they could be creating a problem so their employer can offer a solution? Problem reaction solution? Yes, I believe so. I believe they're creating this problem so they can crunch down on the internet and control it. Here we go. A video. New group formed to expose unlawful police activity and brutality. The primary method is to video police action and by means of a smartphone app called Quick. Instantly uploads to the internet where it can be retrieved even if cameras are confiscated or destroyed. Here are the details. YouTube, June 13th. That's an excellent YouTube. If you got an iPhone and everything, you should have that app in that phone because you can always then have an account where this video will go directly onto the net in a nice safe place and they can't get to it. Unlike the guy in Florida who just happened to take the SIM chip out and stick it under his tongue to protect the cops killing a guy in the car, and then one of them coming up to their car and pointing a gun at him. I mean, in America, the thuggery keeps going on. All the police are is a criminal with a badge and a gun. That is, the bad cops. Cruelty has become a major part of Mexican drug cartels. Buses are raided, elderly are killed, young women are raped, and men are given hammers, machetes, and sticks and forced to fight to the death. Survivors are sent on suicide missions. The Crown, June 13th. FBI expands powers to snoop without having firm evidence of wrongdoing. This includes tracking people, searching through their trash, and relaxing restrictions on lie detector tests. Primary targets are not terrorists but public officials, teachers, reporters, and bloggers who may be critical of government activities like this one. This is from the Raw Story, June 13th. Video highlights of Ron Paul at the New Hampshire Republican debate. He really shines when he talks about the Fed and the economy and the foreign policy, yet they didn't ask him hardly any questions about that. He had to bring that up on his own. Sad world when they don't have a real debate where the debaters make up the questions for each other and not have a moderator. They used to do that. Do your history check. They used to debate each other and not have a moderator debating them. UK government education advisor says that climate change curriculum should be removed from schools and the focus should return to core science. It's about time. Telegraph, June 13th. China has been decreasing its holdings of U.S. bonds, but little attention has been paid to who is buying them. This analysis concludes that most of them have been bought by foreign banks with newly created money from the Federal Reserve. In other words, they're taking the money the Federal Reserve has given to them and been buying these bonds back with it. That gives cash to China, U.S. bonds to foreign banks, and more inflation to American citizens. Soon you'll need that wheelbarrow of money to get a loaf of bread. Telling you, Economic Policy Journal, June 13. U.S. corporations push changes in patent laws to award patents to those who file first instead of those who invent first. Private inventors often are not well informed about patent requirements, which gives the edge to corporations with staff attorneys. Big government, June 13th. It's almost like those commercials where they say, give us your idea, we'll get it patented for you. And then they just steal it from me because it wasn't patented. Anyways, African leaders meet to establish guidelines for creating an African Union similar to the European Union and North American Union, U.S., Canada, and Mexico. The march to abandon national sovereignty in favor of regional governments and finally global government continues. New Zealand scientists have created genetically engineered goats that produce transgender offspring, females in sterile male bodies. In other words, chimeras. Again, more chimeras coming out to a world near you to produce human protein in their milk. We shudder to contemplate the monsters that will exist 100 years from now. This is not science, it's insanity. Scoop, June 12th. Video, Iowa City Council proposed to require property owners to provide keys to the government to allow emergency entry into their business, homes, and apartments. To protect them, of course. Yes, that way they can just come in and look around when you're not there and see what you got and see what they want and then come back and SWAT team you. Hey, that's an ideal. Idaho governor announces a deal with China. Oh, that came from YouTube. Idaho governor announces a deal with China that gives Chinese investors permanent residence and tax breaks and encourages foreign purchase of Idaho land and industry. This could be the first Chinese outpost in the U.S. Utah is posed to do the same. New American, June 11th. Just think they're going to take your land away in America that used to belong to us. It now belongs to Chinese, fair and square. U.S. Genetically engineered GE foods alter our digestive systems. I did a video on that article. And are linked to birth defects and sterility. So the Department of Agriculture is planning to allow full planting of all types of GE corn and cotton. Large GE companies like Monsanto, the evil one, are big spenders in Washington lobbying pays, you know. June 11 by the Post. Well, that's about all the time I have. I guess I'm going to have to let the rest of these go. A lot of these are really good after this. Once you get past the analysis here, these are really good videos. A lot of videos. And then it ends right here. I just didn't have that much time. Well, until next time, this is Spellbinder Reports on the Unfiltered News by the Reality Zone. I hope you get a chance to look at this. I'll have a link to this newsletter in my description box at the bottom. Good day.